This is Straight Talk with Enlivening Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Welcome tonight to Straight Talk with your truly Greg Fan, the Preacher Man, and Shannon E. Jones. Shannon E. Jones. Well, we got him back. He's off his Jimmy Kimmel vacation. With his wife and his baby. And he don't even look so relaxed and so into it. I mean, just that, man. You know, I'm telling you right now, man. It's a wonderful thing to just be able to take a little time off with the family, ain't it?
You know, every time you need to tell them the truth. Every time they don't see me, we're in contract negotiation. You know what it is.
If Samuel would run around that, they'll know I'm telling the truth.
If you got what I got on my contract, you look rusty too.
There are no contracts, ladies and gentlemen. Believe that. There are no contracts agreement.
Big bucks. Period. The big bucks.
No contract agreement. Period. We do this because for the love of passing out information to you, the listeners of Straight Talk around the world with news and information with yours, the Great Fan Preacher Man and Shannon E. Jones. And don't forget, Miss C. And don't forget to like us, subscribe, make comments, and share. You can go out to Straight Talk News 1362@gmail.com if you'd like to be a guest. Was glad to have brother Roland Tate with us last week. And he poured his heart out in terms of what he felt about what was going on with the Republican Party and the whole gathering and Trump's plan and how Trump came to power. How he came to power and influence. But thank you, Brother Tate, for coming on last week. He'll be a guest from time to time. He'll drop in from time to time. We're going to have different ones dropping in from time to time. So, but right now we're going to jump into this thing. Shannon, you got anything you got to say before we jump in and turn it over to me?
No, never want to get before the people in Miss C.
You always say that about Miss C. You always say that about, now you don't add.
Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on the other side with Miss C and then Shannon and I. Don't you go nowhere, and share with your friends and let them know that Straight Talk is on the air.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. Hey, Greg. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shannon. Hope you all are doing well out there. Well, listen, I've got some information that I want to share with you. First of all, Flipper Temple AME Church at 580 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard in Southwest Atlanta, they're inviting everyone to their Fit for Learning Health Fair, Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, from 11 to 2. Come out and enjoy good food, health screenings, dental cleanings, prostate cancer education, vaccinations, free school uniforms, school supplies, and more. Fit for Learning Health Fair is sponsored in part by the Brogdon Firm and Murray Brothers Funeral Home. Reverend Elijah Shafar is lead pastor. For more information, call the church at 404-522-5020. The City of East Point presents Wednesday Wine Down in the Point, July 23rd from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Downtown Commons, 2714 East Point Street in East Point. Bottled water and lawn chairs are permitted. Now listen, this is what they're not permitting. They're not permitting weapons, smoking, no tents, no coolers, pets, or outside food and drinks, because they're going to have vendors, okay? So none of that is allowed, but you can bring your bottled water and your lawn chairs. Now, they have guests performing: Morris Day and the Time, Mickey Howard, Glenn Jones, and the Soul Cartel. This will be hosted by Greg Street and comedian Marvin Dixon. For more information, you can visit the website. That's eastpointcity.com. eastpointcity.org. That's eastpointcity.org. Okay. Caregivers Conquering Cancer, Advancing Health Education and Equity in Multiple Myeloma will be presented Friday, July 25th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. and Saturday from 11 to 1:30 p.m. They're going to serve you dinner on Friday and lunch on Saturday. And it's going to happen at Shaw Temple AME Zion Church at 775 Hurt Road in Smyrna, Georgia. Registration is free, but it's also required, okay? You can call the church at 770-801-8185 to register. That's 770-801-8185 to register for the Caregivers Conquering Cancer seminar. Okay, now listen, there are 4 things I'd like for you to do before we leave. I'd like for you to I'd like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to like us. And those 2 things are right down on the front of your screen. And I'd like for you to leave comments. And I'd like for you to share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, okay? Let them know what you know, okay? And we're going to see you right back here next time. In the meantime and in between time, may the Lord God bless you real good. Bye.
Well, thank you, Miss C. Thank you, Miss C, for always giving us great news and information. And thank those who sent in those your news and information on cancer. And cancer is a serious problem. We got so many diseases and sickness, and so many people are sick. And then we have a sick president and a sick Senate and a sick Congress that would pass a bill that would hurt people who are sick, who cannot afford health care, who need Medicaid, who need hospitals in these rural towns, not just in Georgia, but the rural towns across the country. We got a lot of rural towns where there are no hospital at all. People have to drive miles and miles and miles to get to a doctor, to get to a hospital. And these hospitals are closing down because of lack of funding. So listen, Shannon and I are going to talk a little bit about that today, because it's important that we understand that health care is a problem. So those of you who heard that about the event that's going to happen in Smyrna at the AME Church, do call that number and get more information and how you can help your family members or friends or people that you may even have to be suffering with cancer yourself. So Shannon, thank you so much for just being here today. Just glad to have you back, man, in the studio with myself. And
glad to be back.
And I want to I've talked about it last week in terms of your event, the Boys to Men's event that was held a week or so ago, that your father and Joe Kahn and a lot of coaches around the state worked and participated. And I told them what great fun I had out of the whole event was actually really watching those boys play basketball. And watching,
is that what they were doing?
I told them hacking and chacking. I said they like I was when I was young. You ain't gonna scold me. I'm gonna fire you.
Did you see them with their ties on? They didn't take their ties off.
Oh yeah.
The boys, they learned how to tie a tie. And some of them never had a tie. Last year we found out that 94% of the boys that came didn't have a tie, had never had a tie on, and didn't know how to tie a tie. So the tie man came, set up a whole tie section, and taught the young brothers how to tie a tie, and they all got a chance to pick a tie and take it. So when they were playing basketball, we said, take the ties off and let's put them in your back. None of them wanted to take the ties off.
They did not.
The tie they had, they learned how to tie, they tied it themselves, and they wanted to do. We're just trying to aim them towards success. And big up to Coach Charles and all of the coaches that came out, Parks and Recreation, City College Park, Councilman Karn, Mayor and Council. We're just very thankful. City manager, everyone that made that a big success, and especially to the house that the Dream built, the arena there at Gateway. They're always very hospitable. This is the second one And each year since we're trying to make it bigger. Our numbers were scaled down, not as large as last year, and so we meant to look at that and mitigate that, and we're going to work on that for next year because it's an event that my father's dream is to pack the whole arena out. And certainly, if you look at all the news and everything that they're saying about black young men, if you look and see what's happening on a day-to-day basis, the news and our young men in the prison industrial complex, we need to have an event like that, and several others.
I want to commend Horace for that. He didn't have to do it, but he understands the plight that our young black men are facing today. We look at the water boys, and how they're out selling water, and then how many of them are actually really, and I'm not just some of the water boys, how many young men are picking up guns, and committing crimes and taking lives and having to go, to that penal system. And, when we talked about it, it's the new form of the chain gang. The old, after Reconstruction, they had what they had men in the black and white suits. That was a chain gang, busting rocks and what have. They ain't busting rocks now, but they're imprisoning them and they're making money off of individuals being in jail. We ought to protect our young men and have them to understand that ain't a life that you want to have. You really want to have a life where you're going to be productive, be a productive citizen in society. But Shannon, I just want to for us to have really conversation. We talk about Donald Trump a whole lot. We talk about the things that's going on with the Republicans and the Democrats. And I was looking at a poll today, and the poll was interesting because it was talking about the young people who do not believe in the Democratic Party or the Democratic Party principle, but yet they don't believe in what the Republicans are doing either. So, I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. I don't profess to be a Democrat or a Republican. I don't profess it. I profess that I'm standing for those who fight for the least, the less, the lost, and left out. And certainly with this big bill that was just passed, it does not resonate to me in terms of helping the least, the less, the lost, and left out. It shows me that you're about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poor, and you're leaving out those that are marginalized. So, but as a man of God, that's my faith. That's what I believe in, is that we must continue to fight for the least, the less, the lost, and left out. But the poll was kind of interesting, Shannon, because when you looked at the kids, those that are under 45 years old, they don't believe in the Democratic Party, nor the Republican Party that's addressing their issues. And you have those that are older, are leaning more toward the Democratic Party, but that's the traditional ones who support the Democratic Party. But what are the principles and the guiding principles of the Democratic Party in terms of helping the least, the less, the lost, and the left out? And how do you see, you're beyond that 45 age now, you're in your 50s now. But how do you feel honestly, really, about this party doing and what the Democratic Party is doing, and versus what the Republican Party is doing? As we see, they just pushed through to have Bouvier to be a judge, and they just totally discounted what Cory Booker was saying about that person and them having a real fair hearing. No, they were going to put him in there anyway, but they just pushed it through and totally discounted or disregarded the Democrats that was on that committee. So it's really, we're living in a time right now, Shannon, I think, and I want to hear from you on that one point in terms of what do you think that the Democratic Party or any party could do to help the people versus where we are now in this climate at this particular time?
The Democratic Party needs to pay attention to the advertising industry. They need to understand their market, and they need to talk to their market. I don't care how good a Polish sausage sandwich is. You're not going to be able to sell too many of them in Saudi Arabia because they don't eat pork. So, when you're trying to sell something or you're trying to find, what you're trying to find an issue. And I think that you wouldn't have to try so hard if you showed up. So I think what's happening, Bishop, is there's an organic movement that's happening and that's pushing against the political class. Because the political class doesn't care. They are, they're Democrats and Republicans and libertarians in name only. Really what they seek is power and to be empowered and to be, Congressman so-and-so, Senator so-and-so, State Representative so-and-so, City Council person so-and-so. But they're not there with the people. So you're not going to be able to bring legislation, and you're not going to be able to tap into a movement if you're a shepherd not smelling like your sheep, if you're not with them. So the advertising industry, consumes a bunch of information, but they also believe in grassroots. They also believe in tapping into a thing and understanding a market, understanding who your core audience is and speaking to that audience. Instead of speaking over that audience or speaking down to it, but be in communication with that audience. The Democratic Party is trying to find its purpose. I can't say the same thing about the Republican Party. I think that there is a movement that they had the Tea Party at one point. There are these movements, and the Democrats have the progressive, and but there are these movements that keep moving in the Republican Party. And what it does is it brings in more money for them, and it brings in a lot more interest, and it keeps their voters engaged. You don't hear the Republicans talking about their party the way you see disaffected Democrats speaking about the Democratic Party, primarily because Democrats fall in love. We fall in love. We have this kind of flower child image, and the Republicans fall in line. And you see it with this Epstein thing. They came out and started attacking, attacking the Justice Department. We need these documents to be out. And Trump is saying, I don't understand what's going on about this. And he even, tried to say that he, wasn't friends with the man. He sent 1,000 pictures with him, with his wife, and, all this stuff. Then, just within the last couple of days, you see everybody, Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene, you see them all getting in line, stepping in line behind the president, and the president gave a pound of flesh. He fired Comey's daughter and gave them that, and then ordered that the Justice Department, that the grand jury testimony, not testimony, but the grand jury information be released be made public by the Justice Department. So everybody's falling in line. On the Democratic side, they're trying to say, well, what do we need to do? What do we need to, and it looks like that. When you see it, it's like ready, shoot, aim. And I think they just need to really tap into their people. They need to be in listening sessions with their folks and hearing the angst and the pain of all of their voters.
So, your suggestion is that they need to be going into that. I heard Alan Shipp say on Hypocrisy program is that he suggests to his Democratic colleagues that they go into those districts or those areas where people, those red areas where people don't see them of value for them working for their issues, like a lot of those farmers who are now suffering, right? That they go into the areas and let them know that they gonna stand for their issues. They're gonna help with their issues because farmers are suffering, right? Because their crops can't be picked. They're losing a lot of things. So, I mean, they're not, as you say, they're not tapping into, and the concerns of the people. They're not talking about the concerns of the people. They're not getting with the people. And I'm not saying not all of them, but too many of them are not doing that. And they feel like, well, I could win my seat, or I want to keep my seat, so I can keep my seat if I be quiet, or I can keep my seat if I do just enough to get by. It's like going to school. You know, you go to school and you say, I could do more, but I know that I can get out of this class with a C. I know if I just make a C, I'm good. I'm good. I don't have to be an A student. I don't have to be a B student. I just have to be able to pass this class, right? So that's why I see the Democrats, many of the Democrats they just sitting back, waiting, and then doing what they need to do, getting back to the classroom, talking to the people, talking to the people and finding out what other people's concern. You can't make the concern all about Donald Trump. You got to make the concern about what they are not doing that's helping you. When you take my food stamps away from me, when you take my health care away from me, when you take my educational opportunities away from me, there's a myriad of issues that they can take back to the area that if you think that every Republican is satisfied or happy, I mean, in those states, I'm not talking about the ones that are elected. I'm talking about the citizenry. If you think that all of them are happy with people being taken off of the streets, you think they're happy with people, pulling folks out of cars? Do you think that they're happy with those things? I'm fairly certain that they're not happy with it. But if you can talk their language, if you can get to them and let them know what your concerns is, find out what their concern is, and wave the flag for them, because people matter, because people vote. And people vote when you put money in their pocket. They vote for you when you leave money in their pocket, and they don't vote for you when you take your money out of your pocket, And this administration is clearly taking money out of people's pocket. Clearly taking it. You know, let me just talk about I'm gonna skip from the big bill. I want to just share with this. When you talk about the smoke screen was, we are not going to tax tips. We're going to talk, but y'all don't worry about it. Tips will not be taxed anymore. I'm going to kill taxing tips. Well, in the big ugly bill, when it came out, it says we're not going to tax tips till 2028. What happens after 2028? And people bought into that thinking, oh man, my tips are not going to be taxed now. I can make all the tips I want to. But if people don't have money to tip you, then what tips are you going to have? I mean, I think if people bought into the narrative of, I'm putting money in your pocket. I'm going to leave money in your pocket. But now you see that money's been taken. See, that's the thing I think the Democrats need to be able to drill down on, is how it is affected and is hurting people, in terms of their pocketbook, in terms of their quality of life in this country today.
Yeah, man, I think that's, you're spot on with it. And there's a lot of hypocrisy. And, folks need to be reading. Here's the thing. You said something about the Trump can't be the only issue that Democrats continue to beat upon. Listen, people that are losing SNAP, can't afford food, losing jobs, can't afford rent, can't afford mortgage, with all of this, they don't care who was in office when they suffered. So a whole bunch of Democrats are probably getting ready to get primaried, because it's not enough for you just to say that. Another question will be, what were you doing when we were starving? What were you doing? Well, we couldn't do anything. We weren't in office, and you ain't gonna be in office either. I'm not gonna vote. Someone needs to roll a set and have some, as Farrakhan says, some testicular fortitude, okay, to stand up and to stop being so afraid and just, stop being so afraid and stand on some issues and forget the fact, look, if you perish, you perish. But if I'm going out fighting. If I'm going out being the best doggone elected official I could be, so that I can sleep, so that I can know that I was fighting for you. Now, My fight for my constituent struggle may have been misinterpreted, or maybe it might have been misunderstood in the greater scheme of things that was going on. But I could show chapter and verse that I was fighting for you. And I think that when you show up, when you're there, the town hall meetings, being at various different events, working like you're running for something, work as hard in office as you work when you're running to get to office. And I think that means that there's a whole lot of stuff that the Democrats can begin to do. And you mentioned the farm workers. Look, my grass was getting as tall as my trees. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a particular person. I like my grass cut a certain way. I like to keep, guess what? My lawn people were scared of ice. They would show up with 5, 6 people on a truck. Get out, 30 minutes, be gone. And now one guy, 2 guys. And I asked him, well, what's going on? I can't finally, I said, listen, is it fear? Is it ice? Yes, it's ice. They're grabbing everyone. Our children are going to school. And they're coming home, and there's no mother and father at home. Mom and daddy were snatched at Walmart, snatched at Home Depot, snatched walking into a store. And so, we're seeing this Hispanic or Latino ghost town that's coming. And so the effects of that affects the housing market, the food market, every market that we can think of that supports the everyday life, shelter, food, environment, service. Who do you think is, and when you are in hotels and the restaurants, who do you think's back there cleaning and washing plates and doing all? Who do you think's doing that? The Latinos have come in and taken that market, and I really don't sense that they're taking anybody's job, because I haven't met no brothers that was looking to go pick those strawberries since we started picking cotton. So, I don't think that's an issue at all. But that's an issue that the Democrats need to tap into. You know what my lawn person said? He said, Trump would not be in office if we not put him there. The great betrayal. I said, how did you put him there when he was running around saying he was going to talk all you workers out of the country? How did you do that?
I hear you, but because one is he spoke to the consulate, and the consulate convinced them that it was going to be all right. I mean, that's just real talk. But now they are seeing the effects of what his true plan is. But I want to step back at something that you said in terms of people being in office and not really fighting for us. We had a champion. The Lord called him home. His name was Vincent Ford. Vincent Ford would fight for people, hard and predatory lending. You name anything that was affecting the least, the less, and the lost, the homeless, he fought for people. And folks received benefits because of his fighting for them, right? People's homes was saved. People's jobs was saved because of but it was his makeup of who he was. He wasn't in office for himself. He was in office for the people. Well, let me just share this with you and the listeners, and I know you already know this. When you have people like Lucy Macbeth and Sanford Bishop that would vote not to impeach Donald Trump before they passed the big bill, and you had other Democrats that would not vote, 79 voted to impeach, and the others didn't vote to impeach. we are in the situation that we're in today. Somebody said, well, they didn't have the power to vote. Sometimes you have to stand up for the principle, because you were standing up for the principle of the reality of this man is not good for our country. He's not good for our country. No, they said, well, Democrats ain't got the House. The Democrats don't have the Senate. The Democrats don't have the White House. Well, one thing that they do have, they have the voice. They have the power, the people behind them. If they do what they're supposed to do, is looking out for the people for real. Not get up there and acquiesce. Get up there and say, well, I'm not going to do it because it ain't enough for us to do it. No. It don't work like that. You said you came up there to work for the people. If you know that there's someone that is not good for us, and you know they're not good for us, you have to do the right thing. If you got a bad employee, don't keep a bad employee. You fire them. You get rid of them. You get rid of them because they ain't gonna never be a good employee. Never be a good employee. So, I mean, when we elect people who waff on issues and do that kind of stuff, and then will stand up there beside, Jeffries when he's giving his 7-hour speech on the big ugly bill and clapping and all of that, that's just show, because the time to show up when it was time for the vote. It was time for the vote. That was the time to show up. See, this is what people don't see, because the American people don't see it. They don't see these things, because they don't pay attention to these things. That's why our program is important, that we continue to do what we do, to inform people. So you'll know, because the only true power that we have is the vote. Is the vote. If our vote was not important, they wouldn't keep trying to take it away from us. And they've been doing that ever since Reconstruction. They've been trying to take the vote away from us. And if we continue to do that and allow that to happen, like even now here in Georgia, Luxembourg, right now, talking about purging over 500,000 people. Oh, that's a 500,000 people. Yeah, from the road, that's 500,000 people that he's trying to take off the road in Georgia. In Georgia. So I'm saying that if you are in Georgia and you are not living where you were living at when you registered to vote, change your voter registration to be where you now live, because they're looking to purge you from the roll. And if you haven't voted in the last so many elections, they're looking to purge you from the roll. Your vote is your power. Your vote is your voice. Vote to find out what's going on with your registration and get registered to vote. And when it's time to vote, vote. Don't talk about my vote don't count. Your vote don't count because you didn't vote. but your vote will count if you vote. So I want to lead that, because I think that right now where we are, and then we got about 4 more minutes, where we are is we just got to educate people around what's going on and why it's important that we vote in every election, municipal election, state election, county election, federal election. Every election is important. And I understand that Michael Thurman is throwing his hat in the ring to run for governor in 2026. And there's a crowded field that's getting in the governor's race already. And, we got the city of Atlanta mayor's race and city council race. We got all these races going up in the city of Atlanta, but we also have the South Fulton city race, the College Park city race, the East Point city race, the Hateville city race, Palmetto city race, all these municipalities races across Georgia, they're races. So let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's do our civic duty and let's vote. Let's register to vote and let's vote.
Absolutely have to do it. You mentioned Hakeem Jeffries. I have a brother who's an activist pastor in New York. He's backing Mayor Adams. But many are backing this Democratic Socialist Montgomery, who has only been in the country for 7 years. Is a very wealthy young man. Mother is a very, very famous and successful film producer. Father is a college professor. And you talk about Hakeem Jeffries, but you look at the community. Jeffries is up in D.C., but he's not as active as he should be. Boots on the ground in his district. And when I saw that speech the other day, it just reminded me of a very low energy person. And I don't think that you're going to galvanize young voters by sounding like a Levitt's couch salesman. You need to be able to strike fire. And I think that the fire and the kindling for that fire comes with you getting back in the district and seeing the suffering of your people. That's what will cause you to suffer when you see a grandmother that's really not waiting for her to come to you, but you go to her and find out how is Medicaid, how is this affecting you, how are SNAP cuts affecting, and get pictures of that. And take that back and stand on the floor of the House and call the names of your voters, the names of your constituents that are suffering. Paint the picture, tell the story, and tell the president that you are burning hell for this. Tell them, and that's the fire that you need, that you might as well take the crosses off your neck. Because if you're thinking that you can do this to the least of us, the left up, the left behind, the left up, whatever you say, Bishop, if you think that you can do this to people, you think you can starve children, and that this Jesus loves, you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. And I think that needs to be a wing in the Democratic Party called the Go to Hell wing. And that wing needs to stand up and tell these people how they're going to hell, what they're doing to people, what they're doing to American citizens, what they're doing to immigrants. There needs to be that, and you need to be on the ground talking to people and taking their stories back. There's a lot of stuff that you can be fighting. You need to be holding up these folks doing all the activism that you can do in these caucuses and whatnot. All these you need to be disruptors in Congress. So when people see you disrupting, when they see you fighting, when they see you being a liberationist, then they will galvanize the people to run to the party and give you the vote in 2026 to get them out. And once you get them out and you have the party, then you can begin to turn this thing around and begin to change the slate of this. Right now, Trump has all three branches of government. He is a king. He is operating as a king. And the Democratic Party has to be the voice of democracy to say we don't have kings in this country.
Well, I want to say this to you, my friend, is that Trump said that's what he was going to be, and that's what Trump has proven. He has proven that's what he is. So I want to leave the day, the night, whenever you view this, I want to leave this with those who are really serious about God. There's a true God loves us because he allowed Jesus to come into the world to die for our sins. We believe that. Many of us do. But do we really love God? Some say, I love God because he first loved me. But do you really love God? Because if you love God, God made sacrifices for us by sending Jesus into the world to die for our sins. Are you willing to make the sacrifices that God did and Jesus did to stand up for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out? Well, with that, this ain't been nothing but Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fan, the Preacher Man, and Shannon E. Jones. Join us next week here on Straight Talk as we go around the world with news and information. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Like us, subscribe, make comments, and share. Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. If you'd like to be on the program, we'd love to have you. And as always, Shannon and I wish you the very, very best. You stay with God, God then will stay with you. This ain't been nothing but what? Straight
Talk.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at FANN922 at Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Penn, the Preacher Man.